What up? And today I'm bringing you guys the first ever episode of my series, Divide and Balance. In this series, I will be discussing different aspects of games that are divided within the community and within the overall game. Then we'll make conclusions about both, trying to compare them while making a solution. The overall goal is to hopefully bring forward light of some issues and try to create a better overall experience for the game and its players. This episode's topic, AP caps in Black Desert. We will discuss why they are good, why they are bad, what it means to certain players, conclusions, and then possible solutions. And to preface, some of these points will actually be on both sides. First, why AP caps are good for the game. The most obvious one is they're used as a silver per hour regulator. This is particularly good for newer players and the average player in BDO looking to make their way to mid-tier gear. Why, you ask? Well, if the AP caps are lower, that'll make it so players can reach them quicker for effective AP. When you see that silver going up per hour for every AP and gear score gain, it feels good. This helps in giving a sense of motivation and accomplishment within the game faster. While also having these thresholds, it will deter higher geared players from coming into your area. This makes it so their gear won't be as effective at certain areas, so they won't make as much progress by going to them. Why go to a spot where you can make less money when you can be at a spot where you can make even more? This follows along the lines of an economic principle called opportunity cost. In simple terms, this measures the effectiveness of being at one area versus another. The difference between them will be your opportunity cost. In terms of PvP, this is also good for open world interactions. Imagine if you go into Centaurs and you go against a 680 gear score player and you get one pop. Done. Doesn't feel good, does it? As a result, this creates a natural divide between different gear scored players in different areas of the game. As you can see, this would create a better ease of access for those trying to get into PvP while also making PvE gains. And the last point I'm going to be bringing up that a lot of people don't actually think about is rotations. By having AP caps for certain areas, it allows there to be more rotations per area. Imagine every monster area only had 2 to 3 rotations, strictly because of AP caps. By having a certain AP effectiveness in each area via the AP caps, it allows there to be more areas for players to use. Now, the other side of the coin, why AP caps are probably not the best. Some of the AP caps are really high, which will give you a less effective AP per area. This can make it seem like no matter how much gear score you gain, you're only getting an incremental increase in your silver per hour. Especially in terms when you start to get the higher gear score, this can be very demotivating. It can make the gear and the progression you have made seem useless. And MMOs in the grand scheme of things are all about progression, whether that's through life skilling, through PvP, or PvE. This kind of leads in a little bit to the PvP realm as well. The consensus I'm getting from most of the communities, T1s and T3s are actually not too bad, but Tier 2s, they be needing some adjustments. Another reason is, let's say you have a personal preference for certain spots. We all know of the underwater king, Zethian. That man loves underwater Sakraya. If the AP caps were different, he could probably make more silver per hour there. Though in his case in particular, he just enjoys the spot and he will keep grinding there. But in that aspect, a lot of people want their gear to feel useful no matter where they are grinding. This eventually comes to a point where you have to choose between making more silver per hour and what you actually enjoy. Which leads to a very interesting question, actually. Would you rather be making more silver per hour, or go to a spot that you really enjoy but make less? We should take a survey or something, actually, and get some kind of data to see what places people actually enjoy, silver aside. And a way we could actually do this indirectly is to adjust these AP caps, which I'll be talking about later in solutions. Now, to make some points and conclusions about them both. AP caps are very effective at lower to mid-tier range, but get less effective as you move on in terms of overall quality of life throughout the game. They can either create a sense of motivation or demotivate players. You can see how having both different perspectives actually create a balance within the game. The ideal scenario and the start of solutions would be to have AP caps more effective in early game. At this level of gearing, it will cause motivation and give goals for certain players to hit while also progressing to other areas. You're just going to be booming, making a shit ton of silver. As you rise in gear, the AP cap per area will need to be adjusted and eventually be gone. No more AP caps at higher end. We want to make a better division of progression and gear in order to later on create a balance. This may seem like a very harsh outcome in ideology. Then I would ask you, what if everyone had the same gear score and could do all the same things? Competition would be non-existent. Progression wouldn't be needed. I feel the long-term effects of that would be pretty boring for the majority of people. Black Desert would die. Absolutely. So what are some good solutions? What are some good resolutions and things we could do in the game? The first, variety. You might be thinking, Crimz, what the hell are you talking about? We got so many spots in BDO, there's so many places to go, and... Okay, I hear you. How many of those spots you go to? Your average grind, your average day. 3? 4 of them? Out of how many in the game? There needs to be more hard capped AP effectiveness in lower tier to mid tier areas. Perhaps doing it by region? Like Medea would be a certain cap for area, Calvion would be a certain cap for area, like Elvia, etc. Then we would just simply need to adjust the value of each area based on those AP caps. This would give more diversity for different classes to go to different areas. And you would still be making good silver and relatable silver. As you know, there are quite a few spots in the game that are advantageous to certain classes, and by giving more variety, it would give more consistent fairness and silver per hour for more classes. When you start to get up to that mid-tier range, we'll say around lower Sakraya and higher, as when we'll start to actually taper off the effectiveness of AP and not have hard caps anymore. Also, by tapering, these AP caps will give a sense of more accomplishment as you make more money per hour. I feel most players would be more rewarded and be more motivated to continue to progress their gear. When you start to get to the extreme areas of, let's say, the 301, 305 plus, and you're in endgame, entry-level endgame, the caps, they go bye-bye. They're gone. No more caps. Some spots where this could easily be applicable would be Crypt of Resting Thoughts and Underground Gyphid. By removing AP caps at higher end, it'll make you feel more motivated to even just get that slight bit of increase. The reasoning? Well, because getting that high of a gear score, getting hard capped is hella difficult. You should feel rewarded for every AP that you get. Should it have some diminishing returns? Of course, but it should still be relatively effective. But we don't need the AP caps for that, because most spots will determine your effectiveness. There are limitations on mobs, your mobility, how fast you can grind, and how well each class is at each area. You will hit a limit, regardless of having AP caps or not. As for the enjoyment factor, well, that's a hard one to address. If we take into account personal enjoyment in certain grind areas versus the amount of progress you can make at said area, I think in general that is selfish, which is perfectly fine. But for the overall balance of the economy and the people in the game, you are just going to have to make a choice, you personally. Do you want to possibly enjoy a spot and make less silver per hour, or do you want to go and make more silver per hour but not necessarily enjoy the spot as much? Having the best of both worlds is not very applicable in most systems. It is a harsh reality, but it is what we have made it. And the one motivator, the main thing that dictates almost everything in all games: incentives. The incentives must be balanced and motivating depending on the AP caps and the gear you have. It must instill a form of motivation and progression within you in order to want to keep playing. Now, what this overall solution would lead to would be quite a little bit of a rehaul. AP caps being adjusted, hard capped at lower end, adjusted through mid gear, and then taking off completely into higher end. Spots reacclimated and rebalanced to cause more variety within the game so that way it could be more suited and fair to all different types of classes. Players go to certain areas because of effectiveness, for the most part, especially in early game. Most people go Centaurs, then Sakraya, then 1 or 2 spots in Elvia, then voila, you're in endgame. 4 to 5 spots mainly utilized unless you're going for possibly rare drops. This can be applied to both PvE and PvP capped content. With PvP, even something as simple as rotating caps for like Siege and different node wars would also be something to at least cause some change in difference. We create division for positive progression and motivation and balance throughout the game in order to create the same ideals. Let's not even get started on the actual PvP meta right now with the 1-2 skill blow up and you go poof and everyone... No, we're not getting into it. Hopefully you all enjoyed my little rant on AP balance and certain aspects of BDO. I'm very curious to hear you guys' thoughts and any opposition to the solutions, the ideas, and what you guys think overall. The goal is just to start conversation, get ideas flowing, and see what we can come up with. If you did enjoy the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Crimz out.